Good evening, boys and girls. We are live. Welcome to another edition of the Highbury Squad. It has been a while since the tactical squad have been on, but they are back with a bang. Football is back. The Arsenal have a game. It's must win. And I haven't slept for 24 hours, so be prepared. Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. I haven't slept in 24 hours. I don't even think my mic is plugged in right now. I will sort that out. But before I do that, I'm going to welcome our very special boys back to the house. Josh and James, the tactical crew, are here. Welcome, lads.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
I've definitely slept in the last 24 hours.
How many hours did you get?
I think I probably got at least 8 or 9. Fewer the day before because I made a rather large lasagna that I'm very impressed about. It was a tricolor, so very healthy.
Wow, look at you, fancy.
I know, right? Domestic goddess that I am.
A tricolor lasagna. So basically, that's the green and the white.
And the red.
And no meat?
No meat. No. Basically, because I wanted to put lentils in it instead. Lentils and mushrooms, and a pesto for the green.
Wow.
I know.
James, can you beat that?
No, I don't cook, so no way, no, not a chance.
No, you're a takeout lad.
No, unless it can be done very quickly, then I don't have the patience. You know.
Right.
I've done a jambalaya a few times, but that's as exciting as it gets.
Jambalaya, very southern, very
that's
southern
about
American.
As fun as I go.
Like. Okay, so the mic's plugged in now. You can probably hear me better than you were a few minutes ago. Good evening to all the usual suspects in the house. Listen, I haven't slept. I don't know why, Tammy. I was working late. I was on an assignment and it went into like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm texting Josh and James about today's show. And then all of a sudden, it's 7 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, wow, I was just working. I couldn't sleep. And they have put, right, I'll tell you what's happened, basically. They've put these speed bumps on our road because I live near a school. And there's no need for the speed bumps, you know? And what's happening now is people that drive down the road don't realize the bumps are there. And I swear, last night it was one almost crash after the other. People hard braking, and it's so hot here this week in Southern California. It's like 86 today. And we have an old-fashioned house, like without, air conditioning. So we had fans, so the window's wide open. And then all of a sudden, the neighbor's water was going off in their front yard, the sprinklers. It was a broken sprinkler. And I felt like I was in one of those mad movies where you're just going crazy. And so here I am with no sleep, and it's a preview to an Arsenal game. How well's this going to go?
Well, I'm sure if the game's anything to go by in some of our previous games, it will be a perfect recipe to deal with your insomnia.
Yeah, you won't struggle to sleep this time tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, luckily you guys will be doing all the talking. Job creation, speed bumps. What do you mean job creation?
There's nothing worse. Where I live, I'm directly opposite a parade of shops, and I won't mention the name, but if you say Mo-op, you might be able to figure it out for yourself what one it is that I have. And the Hovis man thought he was clever, where you can just drive in straight. But on Monday at 5 a.m, he thought, no, I'm going to go past the shop and then I'm going to do a 3-point in. Little does he know that it's yeah, and everyone's leaning out the window. Stop it, mate! You get it?
That noise is outrageous. And also, by the way, do you guys remember? I don't know if you're too young, but it was a 90s thing. Do you remember that trend where people got these alarms for their cars where it goes wow, 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 and then it would make like 10 different noises. Do you
Is
remember
that,
those
is that
alarms?
the,
Or
is that the Blaupen?
I don't know what it is, but there's some douchebag who lives near me that has it. And I'm like, who still has those alarms? That was when you had your Capri or your Ford with your bumpers and everything back in the day. And that was it. And
Just
it's
reminds
like,
me of the clip from Phoenix Nights with the get back, you bastards! I'll break your leg. That's a classic.
oh my God. So I've had the night from hell, which is I've taken the heat, I've taken the nightmare on Sophie Street, because tomorrow is going to be like Dr. Zeus at Christmas, where he gives all the toys back to the children. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to
It's going to be great.
We've got a very special message here that we need to dish out, all three of us. Craig, who's one of our regulars, our regular squaddy. Tiana, happy 10th birthday to you. Many happy returns. I hope you're just listening to this part of the show and not the earlier part where I was maybe using some bad language that, I should slap myself on the wrist for. But happy birthday to your daughter, Craig. God bless, and hope she's having a fun day, and that you've spoiled her rotten and gotten her lots of presents.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Well done. Bit more enthusiasm, guys. Come on, not Marilyn, like a bit more enthusiasm. Not asking for Marilyn.
Happy birthday, Tiana.
We're in that in between now where we've just entered our 30s, that we kind of hate birthdays now, and for the next decade we're going to hate them until we kind of get to 40s, and then we just deal with it. So yeah, a bit bitter right now.
Brilliant stuff.
When I was 10, Arsenal won a double, so we're only in one trophy now, but
when I was
you never
10,
know.
Gosh,
we might get into another one by default or something.
When I was 10, it was 81. Crikey. Yeah, good old 80s. Right, speaking of enthusiasm, we're going to start the show with Kev's video question to you guys, because it's going to fall right into your tactical squad thinkings, musings, whatever you want to call them. And yes, Mask on a job creation, doing something which is needed. Soph said they don't need them. Exactly. That's the point. We don't need them. Don't really need them. By the way, good evening to everyone listening on replay. I know many of you will be, because there is a game tonight. Keep us posted on that enemy match. Is it still 1-1? I hope so. Southampton look like they should be beating Spurs 3-1, and they'll probably come to regret it, and Tottenham will win 2-1, and then, it'll just be one of those. Right, here we go. Let's just get stuck into this, shall we? We're going to start off with Super Kev's question to the lads, and then we will go from there.
Hi, Soph. How you doing, James, Josh? Hope the show's going well. Tactical show. Squaddies. At ease. Question for you guys. And I'm going to split it into two parts. First question, or first part of the question, is what is your midfield for the Wolves game? And the second part of that question is, what shape would you play in the midfield? Anyway, we've got more than enough people. Does Smith Rowe start? Does Erdegaard start? Do they both start? Be interesting. Does Pepe start, guys? Let's see what you say. Anyway, but particularly that midfield, I want to know your system, and I want to know the team. The midfield and your system. Anyway, guys, look after yourself. Have a good show. Sorry I can't be there with you, but I'm busy, right? So I'm looking forward to watching you guys on my way to London for work. Look after yourselves. Take good care. Soph, James, Josh, you know what time it is. Squaddies, I am out at ease.
Well, if I wasn't awake before, I am now. All it takes is a little Super Kev in the house. I didn't even do this at the beginning of the show. And neither did you, co-hosts, remind me, by the way. Well done, boys. Well done. And well done, the person that picked up that Josh is wearing a Rams sweatshirt. Kay, what is this? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Little Todd Gurley as well for everybody. I know he's not there anymore.
Todd Gurley? It's so two seasons ago, mate.
What's I know,
going
right? Unfortunately, it's plastic and it's going to kill the planet. So I'm not going to throw it away unless someone can recycle it.
Are you a Rams
get me a new
fan?
one. Yeah, I've been a Rams fan since 2011.
You mean since they
So
were in their,
since they were where they were previously, before they moved from LA to St. Louis, yeah. Yeah, I've been a fan for a while. So I'm not a glory hunter for this year. I remember when they were disgustingly terrible. Yeah, for years.
Yeah.
I just picked them because I like the colour of their kit, and they had a small link to the Arsenal. And that was purely it between them and the Jags. And I think I picked better.
Well, they've definitely come a long way since the greatest show on turf. That's for sure. I know. I knew it. I knew this would happen. Oh, God, I'm cranky. Don't get me more cranky than I should be. Right, let's answer Kev's question. Josh, we'll start with you. I'll bring up your tactical formation too, and then you can talk to a little bit about what Kev has asked as well. Here we go. Josh is team to face Wolves tomorrow.
Yep. I believe that Xhaka and Partey are both back from their suspension. So I think they come straight back in. Obviously, Thomas Partey has hopefully had some sleep since he got, came back in was at the Liverpool game and just basically came on and was like, oh, why am I playing this game? Got himself a red card so he could have a good rest for Burnley. So yeah, I've gone basically what I expect the strongest squad to be. I think Odegaard's has been great. I think what his problem has been previously is maybe that Saka had looked a little bit jaded. Martinelli the same as well. But, as we mentioned, we've just had the winter break. We managed to have some warm weather training. And whilst we can mention about Pepe as well, I think there's now that opportunity. We've got a player who has dragged himself back into form over the African Cup of Nations. And I think he is an opportunity off the bench. If we can't necessarily break Wolves down, we don't necessarily have to worry about running Bukayo Saka into the ground. And there's always that opportunity to bring him on. Smith Rowe as well. Options off the bench. It's like only a few weeks ago we were saying we don't have any options off the bench. It's amazing what a couple of weeks can do. Selling one of our players in the transfer window. But yeah, I think Cedric is out injured, so he couldn't go at right back. But yeah, I think we'll talk about the defence as well in a bit. But yeah, Xhaka, Partey, Odegaard is my three-man midfield.
Okay. Big Bobby H. I like how you've labelled that.
I thought he was new, and then I realised who it was. I was like, "When do we signed someone in January, and I missed it."
Mr. James.
Yeah.
Talk Kev through your midfield.
It's exactly the same. Yeah, I'm really sorry. I wish I could add more. No, I agree. In the horrible January, Odegaard was probably one of the only shining lights that we did have. And you did the podcast the other week where you asked about who the most important players are going to be and everything else. And I still think Odegaard isn't as highly rated as he should be. I think he's going to be massively important for us towards the end of the season. This ain't any slander towards Emil Smith Rowe. He's an excellent player as well, but just at the moment, I can't justify starting him over what Odegaard's doing. But it's nice to have that option. And like we said, now we've got players on the bench with Pepe. I think you've got to utilise him until you decide to probably sell him in the summer, which I think we're probably going to do. But whilst he's here, use him to the best of his abilities. And I think that's a good sub to have, because even if you don't want to bring Eddie on up front, you can move Martinelli down the middle and you can put Pepe either on the left or Saka on the left and have Pepe back on the right. You've got things in the locker there to change the game. But for me, with Tomiyasu potentially being out, and with Cedric potentially being out, I don't want Ben White at right back. I would rather Tavares play there.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Let's just do the midfield first, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll move into the rest of the squad, because I wanted to ask you guys the question about Odegaard, and I agree with you both on starting him and Emil Smith Rowe being on the bench. I think that what we want to see is the December Arsenal, right? Not the January Arsenal. I think, mostly everyone is fit. Tommy is going to be the one that isn't going to start this game, looks like. Having Partey and Xhaka back, fundamentally important, I think, because what we lacked in January was Odegaard, who you've both picked, the ability to do what he does best. I think we played with a lot of fear in the midfield because we were overrun, and he was asked to do, I was saying this last night on the show, he was asked to do something that isn't, he's part of his natural game. Josh, he also provides a leadership quality. ESR has a lot of maturity and he's growing in leadership with Saka. But in terms of there's a difference between being mature and putting the team on your back in games as well versus being a leader. Is that why you've also gone for him, as well as the fact that, he's the one that can turn the magic on right now in agreement with James?
Yeah, he's been our most consistent performer. I know Smith Rowe has got, he's our leading goal scorer in terms of goals from midfield, as well as I think leading goal scorer generally, especially now Aubameyang's gone in the league. So he's a player that, yes, I think, as you say, he's maturing as a player. He's getting that consistency, growing that consistency into his game, but he's not necessarily there yet. There's only one thing that I think may change the decision on if Odegaard doesn't start, and that's purely based on what Arteta has seen out in Dubai. That's where I think we could see ESR come in. That's where I have the nagging doubt in my mind that maybe there's something that's happened in that 2 weeks. Odegaard hasn't looked as sharp, or maybe Smith Rowe is doing something that just says, you know what, we've got to start him. A bit like thinking back to the Wenger era where Aaron Ramsey, when he was having that turgid run of form, but Wenger was like, he's a different player in training. And you've got to go with what you see in training rather than what you then see on match day. And you hope what you've seen, consistency during the week, 5 days, you hope they then perform on day one, the day that matters. So that's the only thing that I'd like to see potentially happen. But otherwise, Odegaard, as you mentioned, captain of Norway, he's only 22, but I think he's got a very mature head on his shoulders, played a lot of football, and he is that player for us, I think, that is going to tie that kind of front three together. You can see, even when he just came in last January, what he did for us by just sitting in that midfield and the players he knitted together. Smith Rowe and Saka, he knitted those two together as well, and they had some great rapport with each other. So
yeah, I would agree with that. And James, just to wrap up the midfield here real quick, Emil Smith Rowe too. It's not that I want him to develop into being a super sub. I actually think potentially we're going to need bodies. There's 17 games left. Not everyone, let's hope everyone's fit for the 17 games, but in football, nothing is guaranteed. Emil Smith Rowe, someone rightly said, has carried KG some recurring injuries. We've talked about, lauding Arteta for protecting Martinelli. I think Emil Smith Rowe requires a little bit more of that management to make sure that, we don't throw him to the wolves too much. But also, there's something I like about him being the super sub and kind of maybe going on that run again like he did towards the end of last year. Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a player like that, as like you've said, as a super sub. It's nice that there's actually a player that doesn't moan, that is of that quality, that's happy to go, yeah, okay, I'll be on the bench, and if you need me, I'll come on. We used to see it years ago with Solskjaer, and then for a little while at United as well, Hernandez used to do it. But it was very rare you got good players that could change games like them two used to, that would be happy to sit on the bench. But, if Emil Smith Rowe's like, no, I'm calm with it at the moment, do what we need to do. And I think he's a great player to have to come on when you've got tired legs. And, for me, Wolves are going to probably have more possession than us in this game. They normally at home have more possession than most people. However, I looked earlier at what happened in the cup game against Norwich, and they gave a lot of the ball away, which is what we need to be all over. And I think the majority of that was in the second half. So if they do tire out like we think, he's great to come on, because when they start giving the ball away and they maybe push forward and they're out of positions, he can exploit the spaces that we potentially might get.
Yeah,
which is what I think we need to do the whole game.
And we'll get to it in a little bit too, but they don't score too many goals, even though they've looked improved. It's one of those weird situations where Wolves are playing better football, but they're not necessarily getting all the results all the time or scoring the goals that you would expect them to.
Yeah.
The reason
It's a
why
little bit.
I fisted, sorry, is because Southampton have pulled it back to 2-2. Go on, Josh, mate.
Yeah, there is a similarity in terms of how they're playing since when Arteta first came in. He shored up Bruno Lage with them. They've conceded not many goals at all. This Wolves side, but it is that problem that they just weren't converting, especially when they didn't have Jimenez back, and obviously now he's back and scoring. It's great to see him back playing for them after the horrific injury he suffered in the reverse fixture last year. I think that's the big thing that we've got to deal with. We kind of know roughly how Wolves are going to set up. There isn't the fear factor, or I'd say supposed fear factor of Adama Traore being greased up on the sideline, ready to slip his way down the channels. But otherwise, I think they do have some dangerous players there, and we've seen it before. So I think, it's all about that midfield battle for us.
Well, it's all happening at the lane, whatever they call it these days, the Tottenham Stadium. 3-2. I'm going to keep it zipped. Well done, squaddies, for keeping us in the loop. There's a reason why we're going on air now, because, I have another commitment later, but otherwise we would be doing our How the Table is Unfolding show as well as this as well at the final whistle, but we'll still be on air when the final whistle goes. Right. Let's get stuck into James. Talk us through your right back here.
Yeah. So for me, Tomiyasu, I wouldn't risk it. They said that he's been training well, but we'll see how he goes. That to me indicates that he's probably not fully fit, but I might play him because, even if he's not fully fit, he's probably still better than the other right backs that I have. However, for me, I'd go with Nuno just from the point of view of I've seen Cedric now for 2 and a bit seasons. He's got the same amount of assists in those 2 and a bit seasons than Tavares has had in his half a season that he's had. And I just think again, like we said, they're probably going to come at us and we just need to be very, very shored up. And then if we can spring and get into somewhere, that's the kind of players we need. And we know he's quick. Yeah. We know that he's got a good little bit of telepathy with Saka. We saw it against... was it Newcastle for the goal? So we've seen them two linked together, and for me, I think it works for me. He's played right back 4 times throughout his career, and if you care about these who scored ratings or whatever else, his actual best ratings are when he plays at right back compared to when he plays at left back. Probably because he's done it less times, however, but his rating is better.
I think it's interesting that you both have chosen a makeshift right back versus going for Cedric. That says a lot.
I think Cedric's injured. I think that's what doesn't help as well.
Okay,
Cedric's out injured.
Yeah, he's injured. Yeah. But if he was available, would you still have chosen your right back as you have done for tomorrow?
Is that to me?
Both of you.
Josh, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I'd say, the tongue-in-cheek answer is you've got to go to Wolves and play a Portuguese player, otherwise they don't let you in. But otherwise, I think people already know where the other half of my allegiance lies, and it will be with an ex-Brighton player, and I really rate him as his ability to play right back. He's played more than 4 times there compared to Tavares, but it's interesting to see James's perspective of putting a fullback on the other flank rather than me shifting a centre back out into that kind of nominal right back position that Tomiyasu plays. I think in terms of stylistically, Ben White playing at right back is closer to what Tomiyasu does than Cedric playing right back to Tomiyasu. And that's no tongue in cheek, because Cedric's a shit player. It's Cedric, the right back that he is meant to be, is attacking. He is basically Portuguese Bellerin. In a way, that's the kind of game that he's got.
It's a very interesting take.
Yeah, I think it's one way to put it. I don't know how well that would go on in that part of the world, and maybe I should bite my
Lots
tongue
of
as I'm due to
Portuguese
go there
sausage
next
in
week.
there.
Yeah.
James, would you have stuck with? Would you have played Cedric or still twisted with
No,
the
yeah,
Nuno?
I'd have twisted. Josh, I believe a couple of weeks ago we did a show as well. You were saying about Ben White playing through the middle when he brings that out, draws people, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great point. And we didn't get to see that as much when he was at right back. So for me, I would prefer him down the middle, because you look at Neves and Moutinho, they're the intricate two that make that team tick. If anything's going to happen, it's probably going to come from one of them two to give it to someone else, up front or what have you. And if we can make Neves and Moutinho go that way instead of this way, that's what we need to be doing. It's quite cliche in the, well, let's just stop them playing and then we can play. I know it's not the best kind of tactical squad analysis you want, but that is literally the blueprint that
Well,
they're
also,
going to have more of the ball, but like I said, just shore it up.
right.
And then let's go do our business.
Yeah, and barring a couple of, obviously the right back with the injury to Tommy, and of course Tommy would be the starter. It feels like a bit of a beggars can't be choosers, but at the same time, barring Tommy, this was the team that you've both picked that started to shine when Aubameyang was dropped. Tell me why you guys haven't fallen into the trap, and Josh, I'll start with you, of Martinelli starting up top. I always think that if Lacazette is fit and he's ready to go, Arteta's going to roll that dice. We've been hearing lots of reports from Dubai that they've been training, and he's been training a little bit in that position. I would play the way you guys have chosen it. How come you haven't fallen into that trap of mixing it up at the top there?
Oh, don't worry, squaddies. I will fall into that trap. I am very much. It's like Car in the Jungle Book, sitting there with her eyes, kind of trying to bring me in with Martinelli playing a striker, and I will be seduced by it. Don't you worry. I've been seduced by it before. But what was interesting, and I'll go back to Arteta's press conference, is he said we have 3 strikers at the club, then proceeded to name 2 in Lacazette and Nketiah. So there is that wild card 3. Third one, who is it? Is it Martinelli? Is it Pepe? Is it Smith Rowe, false 9? Who knows? But against Wolves, I expect them to play with that kind of back 3, or maybe with a back 2. Is you want that kind of hold-up guy to link everything back, as you were saying, as James was saying about Moutinho and Neves in the middle. Is we want to get runners in and around them. Best way to do that is with a link-up guy between them, kind of doing those reverse passes, get them looking over their shoulder, get around Connor Cody, get around Kilman, get around their centre-backs. That's what I kind of want to see. And Lacazette, although he doesn't fulfill the criteria we may say of what we expect a striker to do, he is the best striker at the club that we've got right now. And transfer window isn't here, so we can't go, oh, why can't we go and get somebody? He's the best striker at this club until the summer. And then we roll again. He works the best for us, whilst, it might become a meme. Let's talk about net goals rather than scoring, goals that were actually...
Is there an infographic coming here? Net goals.
No. Net goals. Let's talk about net goals rather than net spend. We score more goals, I think, with Lacazette in the side than if we had someone like Aubameyang or Martinelli or Nketiah starting. The work that he does bringing people in, whilst he might not be the one with his name on the score sheet or even in the assist column, he's bringing stuff to this side, and he's there finishing off moves if needed.
Yeah, I agree, and I've always backed him, and I agree with 33-5ers who said earlier he's missed a couple of chances. He's just not been that prolific goal scorer, James, and a little bit I've likened him on the show, and some of the listeners will know, to Bobby Firmino. Now, I'm not saying he's at that level, but also Bobby Firmino can look great when you have Mane and Salah on either side. But I do think that he deserves a little bit more respect for what he's done. And let's be honest, in that run that we had, in that 21 goals, he had a lot to do with that, as Josh said too, and we've all said on this show previously. And the speed kind of kicked in when Oba wasn't starting as well. You were seeing a little bit more pace through the midfield, dare I say it. Xhaka was passing the ball forward a little bit more. Martinelli provided speed because of his movement. Saka the same. Even when ESR would come on, Odegaard could play his role. So for me, he will always start. Are you a little bit leaning more towards Josh, where you'll jump on that Martinelli down the middle train at some point?
Yeah. At the moment, um, with how it's got, especially with the announcement today that he's also now captain, I can't see him not starting this game. And a lot of people said it. They've always said, it'll be interesting to see how Lacazette will be when he's finally the main man. Now he is, not through probably his choices either. He's by default become the main man now. So, and as much as I want to believe that we're still going to get in the top four, we're probably not, but we need to get someone that's going to fire us into that top four. And I know he's not been the most prolific guy, but now that the full pressure and everything is on him, we need to see if he can stand up and deliver it.
Right.
For me, I was a bit miffed this morning when I saw that he was made captain. Because
he's leaving?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I think a part of this is we're still trying to get him to sign that 2-year deal. Because apparently we've put the 2-year in front of him, but he wants the 3. But I think we're still trying our best to get him to put pen to paper to a 2-year deal. And I was looking at it going, well, if he's not going to sign it, you're, looking at moving on to the future. A lot of people have already said, well, let's chalk this season off and then we'll go into the next one. And, we're going to have this big summer. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. For me, I would have picked who's going to be your captain now to lead this new Arsenal that you're telling me is happening, that I got told was happening 2 seasons ago, but we're going to do it again.
No, I think, James, this is a brilliant point because
for me personally, I'd have gone, right, this is, if he was, the difference between now and 17 games away, yeah, okay, it feels like a lot and it's a lot of points. But for a captain that you need to bed in, for me, I'd have just picked who it's going to be from now for the future. I'd have done it today in that press conference. I'd have gone, right, it's Tierney, it's Gabriel, whoever. We've all got who we would think it should be. And obviously Lacazette has a pull with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't lie, I was a bit miffed by it earlier. I thought, is that really the best decision to make? Because, again, it's putting pressure on a guy, extra pressure on a guy who's going to leave as well.
You guys are killing me in the chat, by the way. First there's a penalty, then you call it off, then it's 3-3. Now you're telling me it's offside. I can't take it. I'm trying to focus as well. It's almost better not watching the game. I can't do it. But we've been down this road before we kind of move to a couple of key questions I have for you guys. We've been down this road before, Josh, like James said, and we've all seen the movie. We've drank from the mug. We've worn the T-shirt. We've listened to the soundtrack. This is what happened with Oba. And I'm not saying I think Laka's attitude is a little better than Aubameyang's, and I think he's exemplified that through leading off and on the pitch. But surely we can't go down that road again and have regrets. And like James said, we were sold this story on the new project, the new Arsenal. Edu said the next layer is to bring in world-class players in that Sky Sports interview, which is going to be tough if we don't have European football. But surely we can't keep making those same mistakes just through emotion. Or do we progress with him in that position next season? You're on mute.
Of course I am. It's because I was too busy trying to not laugh at Spurs. But who knows what's happened now. I think it is a difficult moment. I don't necessarily agree with making the captaincy decision in January for who the long-term captain's going to be. I'm quite happy with the kind of conservative approach I think Arsenal have gone with. They seem to be a bit more thinking about the long-term strategy. Whilst we can't necessarily see it right now, I thought what was interesting was Lacazette talking about who he saw as the next captains in the squad and named 4 players. The one that I think will tickle a lot of people would be Gabriel, the centre-back, not Martinelli, to go right on the Martinelli hype train. Give him the captain, make him number 14 and stick him up front. No, in terms of Gabriel, and just saying the thing that he only needs to do to basically get it is to make sure he's completely fluent in English. And I think that just happens with another 6 months of integration into a country. He'll get that. And I expect that's going to be the point. I was listening to The Athletic earlier. I don't always listen to them because they're not necessarily the gospel. But Gunnar Blug or James McNicholas was talking about or reiterating about one of Edu's previous statements, and the thing that they were aiming for was to be competitive in the 22-23 season. So season after next is when Arsenal should be competitive again. Now, going by what I think Edu thinks is competitive, that would be as competitive as his team was, not as competitive as maybe Arteta's team was in his era.
Yeah,
so for me, that's the kind of build-up, and I'm going to look at the badge that's on my hoodie right now, and the Cronkies targeted the Super Bowl at the SoFi Stadium was the Super Bowl that they wanted the Rams to be opening, and that's what they've built the whole system around, was that one big thing. And it seems like it's a similar thing that we can see here. And there were some odd decisions that the Rams made at the time. I think a lot of people would have questioned why Todd Gurley was let go so soon. Turned out he had no knees left.
But they've thrown the kitchen sink at this
team. They have absolutely thrown it when they've got, right, we're near it, and they've started to panic. They've still been smart about the panic. I've seen some people going, we said we weren't going to panic by in January. We don't, they know January's 31 days. It's not 24 hours on deadline day. But I think there is that long-term strategy of it's only a panic. Can we bring the summer plan to January? Not, oh shit, we're going to completely blow away what we had in the roadmap over in the summer to try and completely change it, bring in something that doesn't necessarily work and screw it up.
Yeah.
So I think that's the same with Lacazette. I have got it in my absolute thought is he is going to Lyon. He's going back to Lyon in the summer because they will give him the deal he wants. And do I begrudge him for sitting at Arsenal and saying, I want a 3-year deal, please? Because at his age, that's what he wants. He wants that financial security, 3-year contract. And I also agree with Arsenal not offering him it. I can sit on that both sides of the fence, that I don't think Arsenal should offer him 3 years, but I also think Lacazette should demand 3 years.
Yeah,
because they're both sensible choices.
Yeah, it's the last contract he's ever going to sign, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to say, James. It's his last big contract, and he's got to capitalize on that. And you can't, and maybe it is time to move on. I think that as much as I like him, and a little bit like, I'll say use the word like loosely, but there are certain players that fit this team for now to get us to the end of the season. I think Lacazette is one of those players. I think Xhaka offers that in midfield, unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, between now and the end of the season. But I do believe those types of players need to be moved on, and we need fresh blood. Right, I'm going to... there's a lot of happy people in the chat right now. Hit the like button if you love that result at Tottenham Stadium. Well done, the Saints. You went marching in and you got the result. My goodness, now, is there even more pressure on us tomorrow night now, guys? As if there wasn't enough pressure on us. Is there more pressure on us now with the results against Manchester United and the fact that Tottenham have lost West Ham 1, of course? The table, we'll get back to tactics in a minute. The table looks like this, of course. City 12 points ahead. Then there's Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham at 40 points, Manchester United 39. The Arsenal have 36 and Tottenham have 36. And after tomorrow, they'll still have that one game in hand. James, is there even more pressure? Good evening to everyone who's joining us right now as well in live chat. Please do hit that like button on the way in.
There's always pressure when you support us. It's just the way it is. Especially considering, we went out of everything quite early. So we haven't seen them for, all we've seen is some lovely holiday snaps, a nice snap of Ben White with a lovely lady. If I was there in that situation, I probably would have kissed that lady as well. And
Why not?
the tennis ball scenario, dodgeball, whatever it was that they were doing, that's all we've really seen. So it would just be nice to watch us playing a game. For however long that might be, within, that might change within 10 minutes or so of watching that game. But, at the moment, you take the good times.
Yeah, I think that we have to capitalize on that big time. These are the moments, these are the results, and as tough as Wolves are at home, we can beat them. We can, and now we definitely have to. Who's the player under the most pressure? So last night I asked everybody about. We've been talking about. I put this picture up because, and let me share it with you guys, because I felt like Man United getting Pogba back at this time of year was really a big deal. And in that first half, especially against Burnley, you could see the difference that he was making. His movement, his passing. I don't care what anyone says about Paul Pogba. I think that he's an absolute quality player. And for me, Thomas Partey is the one that we need to kind of put this team on his shoulders. That midfield is going to be crucial. Is it Thomas Partey? Is it Saka? Josh? Who do you think is under the most pressure to perform?
I think it is Thomas Partey. I started the season saying it. This is a make or break season for Thomas Partey, I think, for us, and it's a make or break season for us in the sense of we know the quality behind Partey isn't necessarily there. Do I think that there's the same pressure on Lacazette? No, because we know that Lacazette, it's nice to know that our captain is leaving before he's made captain. I think for once in that regard, so he doesn't have to get caught with that curse. But Partey, for me, he is in the central position there for us. I think we can get goals without Lacazette. The pressure then moves to someone like Pepe. I was putting my flag in the ground for Nicolas Pepe this second half of the season. Last year, he got 7 goals and 1 assist from February. And I think if we'd signed a striker in January transfer window, that's the return we would have asked for them easily. Mm-hmm. So I want to see the same kind of return from Pepe, exactly the same we saw from him last season. But I still think Thomas Partey, because of that drop-off, we've seen what happens when we're only left with Sambi, because unfortunately, Xhaka can't always be trusted in high-pressure situations. I think the same could also be said for Partey. You can see if he's potentially overworked and jaded, he's also prone to a stupid decision. So I think that's the one that we want to see most is Partey. I want to see him for 17 games this season in that midfield. Doesn't need to be hitting the heights of 10 out of 10 every game, but I need him to be putting in solid 7s at least.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see.
I think so too. James, real quick, which pressure do you think? Some people have put up Pepe, but is Pepe really going to get a chance to start? Will he only start if there's an injury? If we get kind of desperate, maybe a 20-minute, 15-minute performance in certain games. What's your take, James?
So for me, I don't think it's just one. I think it's both of them in midfield. Because, like I said earlier, you've got Neves and Moutinho that can control that game for Wolves. And for me, if we're going to go forward, not just for this Wolves game, but for the other games that we have left, you need both of them to be immaculate. Because we've got to control games better. Mm-hmm. And the control will come from them two in that midfield. So if they're not on it, we're going to see, if they get more silly red cards, if they drop, clangers like they've been prone to drop them, we're going to kiss whatever we think we could potentially get goodbye, because it's not happening if them two don't, play as well as what they have done in the past. And again, as well, someone mentioned it earlier, we can't be making silly tackles because Neves is an absolute, okay, we've seen Ramsdale pull off the saves from Maddison's free kicks, but Neves is quite special at them as well. I don't want to
Yeah.
really be getting, you know, that's another thing to watch out on corners and stuff as well tomorrow.
Yeah, even though they haven't scored too many goals, they've got 2 or 3 players that have that X factor that can do
Yeah.
something a little bit special.
I mean,
and
it's
think
audition time for Neves tomorrow. Let's be brutally honest. And that is a guy that I would, if we're going to have this money, you know, the magic money tree come out in the summer, that's a guy I'd happily throw money down on. Because I think you put him next to Thomas Partey, saucy. That's all I'm going to say.
I like it when you use that word, saucy. All right. Demsek had a quick question for you guys too, because it has come up in a lot of our shows, and I know some other folks have been talking about it too. Pepe down the middle. Kev says no, no, no. If he gets bullied on the flanks, how do you think he's going to do when he's faced with, like, you know, big centre backs and stuff like that? In a nutshell, Josh, does that only happen if we get so desperate? You know, like, I should have an analogy here. Maybe it's the end of the night at the club and the lights are about to go on and you're like, I kind of want to go home alone. Sure, fine.
Yeah, it's the stick or twist, is it? It's the
that would have been better.
Yeah, stick or twist. I think we'll go with that one rather than cast any dispersions on people. What we may choose as our last resort in a club, just as the lights are coming up. But let's just say maybe it's the choice between the kebab or the hot dog stand that's just outside the door.
Exactly, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about that, not about picking people up. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Pepe for me, I could see it. I think Kev definitely, we had the battle about whether or not I saw Pepe as potentially playing central forward. I think there's very few teams in the Premier League who could get away with it as Pepe as centre forward. It's the same as Martinelli, to be honest. If I think Marty could play it, I could probably think Pepe would do it as a second choice. Someone like Leeds, I mean, we saw the Villa, if anyone's been following the Villa game, they'll know that Leeds really been up for defending today, as they tend to not to be for most of the season, it appears. But that where you've got that kind of openness, there's going to be ground for him to run into. Yeah, I'd happily give Pepe that option. But I think equally teams are quite smart now. You know, this isn't a game where, like James was saying, that you can't necessarily always go in and impose your style straight onto a team and hope that they kind of sit back. Everybody in the Premier League now is trying to impose their style. There's maybe 1 or 2 teams that will sit back and let a team and just counter a team without doing anything else. Maybe Burnley. I expect actually Watford to go that way now that they've employed Roy Hodgson. But yeah, otherwise everybody, it's blessing, but unfortunately they picked the wrong man. But yeah, I think that's the big opportunity.
I think there's some teams that just can't be saved this season, and I believe Watford might well be.
I think they were definitely doomed. Certainly all my Watford players going at my fantasy football team, let's put it that way, because they now won't be able to defend and they won't be able to score.
James, for you, Pepe gets a lot. He's so polarizing, gets a lot of love.
Yeah,
a lot of crap.
I love the guy, but you know, I only played as a centre forward for Gallo United at Baddow Recreational Ground in Chelmsford, Essex. Kevin's played at the top tier in the Prem. If Kevin says he can't do it, he can't do it. I think, you know, his acumen on centre forwards in the Prem's a bit better than mine.
All right. Okay, let's get down to the crux of it here. So you both have gone for the same team other than the right back.
Yeah.
What do you think the score is going to be, you guys? And who do you fancy? One of the questions we're asking everyone is, who do you think is going to score the most goals between now and the end of the season? Let's do that first, and then we'll get to our predictions for tomorrow night.
Martinelli.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Odegaard. Goals.
Oh, I'll take it.
Goals.
Yeah. Okay.
Goals. I'm going to go with it. I did think Pepe, but I thought, you know what? Let's just put something out there.
I told everyone to I made a wacky prediction, and I said, just go see what the betting is right now. I don't want to encourage people to bet, of course, but, you know, having a little flutter every now and again is fine if you do it responsibly. Go have a bet on Eddie getting 5+ goals between now and the end of the season. What do you think the odds are? I should have asked Alan Alger that the other day.
I would say somewhere between 85 to maybe 90 to 1.
Yeah, that's a good bet. That's a good bet.
I mean, a good bet for who? The bet.
yeah, the bookies would like it.
Bookies
The
or
yeah.
for the punter.
This is why I don't go to Vegas often, boys. This is why I do not. Do
Mr.
that.
Jennings is going to be rubbing his hands together if you lay that down.
Everyone's saying 1,000 to 1.
Oh.
Everyone's laughing. I love it. Just mark this calendar.
You'll get a few more
date.
Ray Winston adverts if you bet that kind of money.
Yeah.
We're getting Ramsdale. Okay, don't you think Saka needs to step up and score goals real quick? I mean, he's got to. He has to. That's part of his game he's got to improve on.
Yeah, but I think we're already asking so much of the guy already as it is.
Right.
I personally, how I looked at it, I think the other players that we've got are gonna, create more, and Martinelli's just gonna tuck him in for me. I think Martinelli's movement, I think finishing wise, he's definitely up there now in terms of the best of the club now that others have left. So it just makes the most sense for me that Martinelli's going to be the one.
Right. And I like that they're not phased. They're not phased at all.
No.
They put the pressure. They handle the pressure well.
Yeah, the main thing we've seen, and the main thing the managers, someone mentioned it today, did a press conference all about nothing really. It was a bit, it was more of
like a Seinfeld episode.
Yes, it was quite, or it was like the first time I ever watched Memento. I was sort of like, well, that was good, but I don't really know what's happened. I'm gonna have to, maybe I'll watch it back and see if I can understand it. But
did you like the solution? The solution, not the problem. Comment?
Exactly.
It sounded like the PR team crafted that one, didn't it?
They're talking about the togetherness of everything, and it's just they looked, like I said earlier, they looked very together when they were away. So maybe this is the new team that they're talking about. We're going to see it tomorrow.
Listen, I don't mind a little kumbaya, but every now and again, I want a little Metallica, right?
Yes, I agree.
Come on. All right, Josh, let's do this. Let's get you guys out on this. 270 of you in live chat as well, by the way. Please do kiss that like button tonight. The results have gone our way with regards to the enemy. We're even going to bring Vinny out right now. Slap him mummy's shoulder right there. Kev's not here, but if you don't do it, he'll break it and he'll let you know about it when he's back as well. Josh, what say you on the scoreline, my friend?
I will say Arsenal are going to win, and I would say 2-0. I'm not going to go with scorers. Maybe Eddie for 2 of them. So get towards that 5 for the end of the season.
Clip it. James.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1-1. Sadly, I think we're going to draw.
Who gets the goal tomorrow then?
Martinelli. Yeah, Martinelli. Yes, it's safe money.
Safe money. Yeah. I said all week that I fancy a draw, and I'm going to stick with that. I think it's going to be like a 2-2, and I'd love to be wrong. And even though they don't score a lot of goals, I don't know. The right back situation worries me a little bit. People say, "Oh, we've rested. We should." Sometimes rest isn't a good thing, especially for this team. Mental engagement, I think, is key for the Arsenal. Are we able to just switch it back on after having such a terrible January, going out of, the League Cup and the FA Cup? It's going to tell us a lot about this team and how they bounce back from having an absolutely horrendous month. Because then, guys, we've got another 9 days until our next game,
Yep.
So we need to be like this. And this is where it worries me a little bit still. As mature as I think our younger players are, we have a couple of immature older players, and we just need to find that fine balance. And this is where Arteta's going to earn his crust. Southampton had 23 shots. You love to see it. 3-1. We've got 3-1. We've got 2-1.
You watch. It'll be a classic. We'll draw this one. We'll draw this one or something tomorrow. And then when we play them at home, we'll completely spank them. It will just be the fact that it was an away game that we didn't do anything. You watch. We'll probably slap them up something like 3-1 at home in a couple of weeks' time.
I agree, James. And when we did our score predictions for the next 4 or 5 games with Kev, I said exactly that. We'll draw there, but we'll beat them at home.
Yeah, and convincingly as well. You watch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's how it is.
Our fans will come out in force, that's for sure. We're going to have the post-game show tomorrow night, so you won't want to miss that. As soon as the final whistle goes, we will be live. And Marky Mark will be joining us, immediately stepping out of Molineux. He will be at the game, so he'll be giving us his roving reporter report. And who knows, a Super Kev might make an appearance as well. Also, you can catch Kev on TalkSport tomorrow for 2 hours, I believe it is, with Hugh Wisencroft at 7 p.m. For the press box. So that will be good stuff. And then you can catch me on Early Kickoff on Sky Sports News tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. I hope to get some sleep, and I hope to look a little better than I do this evening, and I'm going to work hard on that. I'm going to go get myself a little face steam, a homemade, old school. Remember the old... do you remember? Again, am I too old? Or did your parents used to do that? When
Still
you were
do
younger?
it now. Try and clear your sinuses out, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, brilliant
must.
stuff. Well done. Tell everyone where they can find you, Josh.
You can find me occasionally on A Bergkamp Wonderland, the Arsenal podcast, or you can find me on Twitter at JoshTheHuman23.
Love that. And Mr. James, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, it's at LLCoolJames91 on Twitter, and then all the links are there for my own channel and Purely Arsenal FP channel as well.
Love it. Brilliant stuff, you guys. Always enlightened when I talk to you on the tactical squad. It's been a long time, and thanks so much for making time for us. Josh wanted to make sure he was in bed by 10:30, so we're getting there. He's going to have his hot cup of cocoa. James looks like he's ready to go to the club.
I don't know if I'd get in this Dennis Bergkamp shirt. I know he's the GOAT and everything, but I don't think it's club attire.
I hope your Rams lose this weekend, Josh. That's all I have to say on the subject. We will be back live tomorrow night, kids. Until then, stay safe and up the Arsenal.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.